Seconds Out, delighted to be joined by Lou DiBella for the latest DiBella's Digest. And Topolina, of course, making a welcome return to the programme. Not entirely as interested in me as I am in her.
Sitting here staring out the window, waiting for a dog to come by. She's good company when I'm zooming. She's good company when I'm zooming around in my car because I don't want to be sitting home for hours on end. So what's new, Danny? What's new over there?
That's what I was going to ask you. What's new, Lou? I mean, we're finally seeing boxing back over here, later than you guys, of course. But Frank Warren is the first to take the plunge on Friday on BT Sport, and Matchroom Fight Camp obviously to follow at the start of August. What's new over there?
I have Jerry Forrest fighting Carlos Takam tomorrow night, so I'm looking forward to that. Takam's a real contender. I mean, he only really loses to champions or the top 10 heavyweights. So this is an opportunity for Jerry in one fight to put himself on the map. So I'm looking forward to that fight on ESPN tomorrow night. What does Frank have Friday night? Like local kind of fight?
So Brad Foster against James Beach Jr. It's a British and Commonwealth title fight, the main event. Some prospects on the undercard as well. How different is Carlos, for people that haven't seen them both, Carlos Takam from Big Baby Miller, who Jerry Forrest was originally scheduled to fight? How much of an adjustment has needed to be made?
Well, I mean, I'm guessing Carlos' head is more together. Start with that. Little bit of different stylistically. I mean, Jarrell Miller's probably more active. Even though Jarrell's a bigger man at this stage, he's probably quicker. But Takam's steady, man. Takam's one of those guys that's just a good heavyweight. Like, Takam is the guy that would have been a top 10 rated heavyweight at any time. And, he was a great amateur. He's had a tremendous career as a pro. Hasn't been able to win the world title level fights, but pretty much has been able to win the overwhelming majority of the fights that haven't been against championship level guys. So he is 39. Jerry's fresher. I think he's younger. They're both orthodox, Miller and Takam, so it's not like he has to readjust to a lefty or something. It's a different style of fight. I mean, Takam's a bigger man than Jarrell, taller, longer length, and certainly more experienced than Jarrell.
So, confident going into the fight? I mean, you have to be confident in your fighters anyway, but have you seen Forrest in the gym and improvements from his last few performances? Are you psyched about it?
I am, because I think he's a very skilled boxer. I've thought that since he got robbed in that fight with Jermaine Franklin. I watched that fight a number of times, and I watched some more tape on Jerry. I mean, his losses were very early in his career, and on a 19 out of 20, which should have been 20 out of 20 because he beat Jermaine Franklin. I just think he's got a very, very good shot with Takam. I think it might be the right time to be getting Takam, and I think Jerry knows what's at stake, and it's an opportunity in one fight to put himself into that heavyweight title picture. Come on, hold on a second. I'm getting Topolinaed right now. All right, okay, here we go. So I am looking forward to the fight.
Something I'm interested to get your take on.
What's your take on Luke Campbell and Ryan Garcia? Does it happen or not?
That's what I was going to ask you. You're the man in the know. I mean, it seems like Garcia's got a number of options. He's told the WBC he's happy to enter into negotiations, but that still leaves the fight a long way from being done. What's your initial instinct?
My instinct is he's going to look at his options. I think he can fight an eliminator in the BC, clearly, and he could fight an eliminator in the WBO. Luke Campbell, the economics, I think, of the two fights would be somewhat different. I don't know what he's going to do. I'll tell you this. I mean, Tago would be very thrilled. I promote him. He'd be thrilled to fight Garcia. I think it's a good fight, a solid matchup. But obviously, Ryan's one of the biggest names in the division, and in the United States, particularly, that's a big fight. At this point, Tago Tago's been sitting there waiting for an opportunity. I think he wants the biggest opportunity available. So right now, I think he's going to wind up with a big fight, no matter how this sort of plays out. So I think we're just going to sit back and see what direction they go in. I think Luke Campbell and Ryan's a very good fight. I think Tago and Ryan's a good fight. I think Campbell and Devin Haney would be a good fight. There's good matchups to be made around that division right now. So we're going to be open to listening to what people have to say, and then if Ryan goes another direction, Tago's still going to fight an eliminator in the WBO. We'll just fight the next available guy.
Sportsbooks opened with Luke Campbell as a narrow favourite over Ryan Garcia should that fight take place. What do you think? Do you think that's fair?
I probably would. I think it's fair. Yes, I do think it's fair. But if I was a betting man, I'd probably take the slight underdog, the younger guy. I'm a big fan of Luke Campbell, but I also think that, as a matchup, I think that's a pretty 50-50 kind of matchup. So if you're going to give me Ryan Garcia as an underdog, I think I'd probably take that, particularly if the fight was in the States.
Something I was really interested to get your take on, given your recent experiences with Amanda Serrano and the Katie Taylor fight, Billy Joe Saunders ruling himself out of the Canelo opportunity in September. And whether you see any similarities there with Amanda's situation or whether it's completely different.
No, it's not completely different because I think everybody is living through a weird time, whether you're an athlete or a writer or a promoter or a nurse or I don't care what you do right now. We're all living through strange times. And I think it's completely, look, if you're sitting there and you're hanging out with your grandparents and helping to take care of them and you're not doing much, I'm guessing you're going to eat quite a bit. The guy's taking care of his family, man. I think it's completely honestly, it's very believable, and I'm not going to fault him for it. And I think we had this conversation before. My perspective on this is sort of pretty simple. My perspective on this is family first. Everyone's got their own concerns.
He hasn't even got a knock on it.
Sorry about that.
I'm sorry. No problem. I think it's sort of somewhat related. People wanted to jump. I was one of them. Wanted to jump to conclusion. Here's BJ Saunders again out of shape. Okay. Well, guess what? A lot of people right now are having a hard time staying in the best of shape, and particularly if you're holed up with your grandparents, I could see gaining some pounds and having it difficult to be on any kind of regimen. So I think it's related. It's different, but it's related. It's different, but Amanda had a contract, but I don't think that mattered because I still don't think you could compel someone to travel in without proper training to in a pandemic. And from Sanders' standpoint, to say, hey, this isn't the right time for me to take that fight because I've been with my grandparents and I'm not in shape, I think that's reasonable.
So a two-part follow-up question then. Who do you think, if you were a betting man, as we've already discussed, will be in the opposite corner against Canelo on the 12th of September? And who would you like to be in the opposite corner?
I'd like somebody fresh, like somebody that I think is a live body that's going to view it as the opportunity of a lifetime. I would prefer, for example, a John Ryder to a Anthony Peterson, probably coming off a knockout loss. I got nothing. I respect Anthony Peterson; he's a good fighter, but I just think coming off a knockout loss, going in against a guy that might be pound for pound, I don't see that as a particularly big fight. Like Lemieux at 160, come on. Lemieux's got zero chance at all. I'd like to see somebody fresh. I would prefer to see somebody fresh, 68-pound top guy, somebody fresh than I would to see somebody that I don't think has any chance whatsoever. I look. It's not the easiest time to make matches. There's economic considerations. There's all kinds of stuff operating. But if you're gonna use that card, you're gonna play that Canelo card at the zone. you need to get a fight, I think, that's legit. You need to get a fight that at least boxing fans are going to say, "Hey, I'd like to see that," you know. And I'm hoping that they'll get more creative than the Lemieux or the Anthony Petersons. I'm hoping they pull something out of a hat. I get that it's not the easiest thing to do, but with Canelo, you have a guy that can fight at any weight, really, between mid-60s and 75. So they can fight at middleweight, super middleweight, light heavyweight. He has that kind of look. That's one of the reasons why I think he is number one pound for pound, by the way. Because he can fight in that whole gamut of weight. But I'd like to see something. Even if I think it's Canelo's a likely winner, I'd rather see somebody fresh get the opportunity. You know what I mean?
If the shortlist is as it's to be believed at the moment, Lemieux, Burrell, and John Ryder, is John Ryder the pick of those three for you?
Lemieux. Who's the second one?
Durrell, I believe, is on there, isn't he, Anthony?
Yeah, Durrell. Oh, Anthony. Yeah, Durrell. If it's Lemieux, Durrell, or Ryder, I mean,
is that what you're thinking?
No, I would probably, on the same theory I just gave you, I think Ryder got robbed in that big fight. Personally, I thought he won, and I think he's fresh. I think you would get 120% out of him. I don't think he's going to win, but I don't think most people are going to win against Canelo Alvarez. I don't think that's the standard. I mean, like I've heard talk of Derevyanchenko too, though I think the Jermall Charlo fight is more likely. But coming off that fight with with Triple G, Derevyanchenko really earned the stripes, and I don't know. I mean, out of the three names here, probably I would prefer Ryder out of the three. I mean, if Anthony was coming off a good fight and not one in which he got clipped, I might feel a little bit differently. I do respect him. I think I respect him as a person and as a fighter, but at 68, where I think Canelo's really strong, a guy that's coming off a knockout loss, I don't love the matchup. And Lemieux, why? It means nothing, I mean, before they went with Lemieux, I'd rather see, if he's going to go down to 60, I'd rather see Munguia than Lemieux.
Well, certainly from a sales standpoint, you would think that would be a much bigger attraction over a Mexican.
You would think,
Talking of Derevyanchenko and having that decision potentially between Canelo and Charlo, if you were in his shoes, which would you take? Kind of a chance of winning or the better chance of a massive payday?
I think the paydays are going to be high in either case. I think that maybe there'd be a marginal difference for Canelo, but I also think at this particular moment in time with no audiences that they're not looking to break the bank and get into a bidding war for an opponent. So I don't think the difference economically would be as significant as it would have been outside of a pandemic. So that being the case, look, Sergey's a terrific fighter, man. He's got a lot of ability. He's a really good fighter, but I think he's a natural 60. I don't even think he's a big 60. I think he's an average size middleweight. He's a lot better off, in my view, at 160 than at 168. And I think that Charlo, I view Charlo and Sergey at 160 as much more of an even money kind of fight than Canelo at 168. So absent the money being hugely different, and I don't think it would be in this circumstance, I think his instinct that maybe he prefers Charlo is the right instinct. Here's the other thing too. He made significant money in his last fight. He's going to make significant money in this fight. If he beats Charlo, how big is the fight with Canelo? I mean, if he's able to go out there and beat Charlo, Derevyanchenko, Canelo, I don't think arguably would be bigger than a third Triple G fight. So I think it's a good educated risk. I understand why his manager and the fighters seem to be leaning toward the Charlo direction.
Great stuff. Lou, it's always a pleasure, especially with the little cameo this week from Topolino. Hopefully we can make that a regular thing.
Yes, Yeah, she's asleep on my lap right now. So, all right. Always good to be with you, Danny. I'll see you next Wednesday. Hopefully, some things are changing for the better by then. I mean, right now, the fucking United States is like Corona Palooza. They should just have like a national rock concert. Let every fucking moron come out and party without a mask, and just call it Corona Palooza, because that's what the fuck's going on here. You know, and we got a guy with like strange hair and an orange face who's running around having political rallies where no one wears masks, while the country has more cases of coronavirus than it's ever had. So I'm not really trying to be political, but I just can't believe the stupidity that's surrounding me right now. So on that note, I hope there's better news next Wednesday, Danny. Always a pleasure to be with you, my friend. And I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Lou. Take care. See you
And
next
I'm rooting
week.
for. And go Jerry Forrest.
Yeah, go Jerry
Bye-bye.
Forrest tomorrow night, 100%.